Okay, this is just a very short introduction. So I support the San Diego Domestic Violence Council, and there has been a need for a long time to hear from people with lived experience. So when the San Diego Trauma Informed Guide team made this mini grant available, I reached out to Jamie and Armand to ask if they would be willing to speak on human trafficking for the Domestic Violence Council. And because of COVID, these are now virtual meetings. And so with the San Diego County Commission on Human Trafficking, they didn't provide funding, but they extended the outreach to all of their members. So Leah Goodwin and Tiana Uribe also were very active in making this, promoting this event. So what was one thing that touched my heart was that the San Diego Domestic Violence Council matched the $500 from the Trauma Informed Guide team. So we were able to fund, both Jamie and Armand. And, I would love to have given them 10 times the amount because that's what they deserved. But, at this, we were at least able to provide the funding for this presentation on human trafficking from their perspectives that really and I think both Jamie and Armand will share more about this, but you cannot have the same presentation unless there's someone with lived experience really giving their perspective. And so that was something that just came through loud and clear. We had 145 people attend. Normally, our in-person meetings are usually around 40 to 50, so this blew that number out of the water. Our virtual meetings have been very popular, so the timing actually worked out that we reached so many more people by having this last September 2020 virtually. And so there were so many more people who had never really participated in the San Diego Domestic Violence Council meetings, and it was because of this presentation. Jamie and Armand, I would love to hear from you and your perspectives and why this is so important.
Brief intro, my name is Armand King. I'm the COO and co-founder of Paving Great Futures. Jamie, you want to give a quick intro really quick?
My name is Jamie Johnson, and hello to all my friends that I do see on here. I am the CEO and founder of Sisters of the Streets, which is a nonprofit originally based out of San Diego, but we nationwide, and we are basically an empowerment and gap-filling organization that is focused on the population that has experienced any type of sex industry work, but we also expand to domestic violence as they both go hand in hand, as well as housing insecurity and addiction as well.
Okay, and I'm sorry if I sound abrupt. Some people aren't used to this type of approach, but all due respect. I don't know anybody necessarily on here. Your backgrounds, I'm assuming you're some awesome people because you could be doing a million other things than sitting here on this Zoom call right now. So please forgive me if I come across any kind of way rude or whatever, okay? I do apologize. I'm gonna start here. Let's go. We're going real life. So as of yesterday, another email that came across to me. Me and Jamie were involved in a NBC docu-series that went on. It was recorded about a year ago, right? When it took about a year for it to even come out. So maybe a little more than a year ago. So we were part of this series. When I get the film footage, when I actually see it aired, out of 4 hours of material of what I gave to this newscaster, 4 hours of speaking the real. As a former pimp, I got involved in the human sex trafficking as a pimp at 16 years old. So did all my friends. The biggest of the human sex trafficking epidemic is not now. This happened years ago in San Diego specifically, around 1997. It was the coolest thing going for me and my friends, my homegirls, my sister, my cousins. There was no force, fraud, or coercion. This was the option and opportunity that we felt we had in our life. Other than that, it was gangbanging or selling drugs. This was real life for us. So out of 4 hours of material, 7 different locations, when I got my clip of really giving my heart and my full insight, there was probably about 6, maybe 5 to 6 minutes taken out of 4 hours, right? Maybe that much. And then it was a clip of what they wanted to present. It was a clip of the image they wanted to give people. It was a clip of what they knew people wanted to hear, because this human sex trafficking thing is a hot ticket item right now. It's sexy right now. It's cool right now across this nation. It's been for the past 5 years. But in actuality, people didn't necessarily want to hear the real, wanted to hear, why did people really get involved in this? Why are we like we are right now? And I'm gonna go straight into the first thing that Amelia pointed out that we talked about in this previous conference was, Where did human sex trafficking come from? And why is America so hot on it now? When honestly, to be truthful, America is rooted in human sex trafficking and labor trafficking. That is the foundation of this country. Let's not forget the transatlantic slave trade, which was the biggest of the labor trafficking. And that's an underplay. That was terrorism that was brought to a nation of people, brought to this country. I am here because of that. I am a product of that. You know, literally in this country, there were slave camps, breeding camps, sex camps here in this country. Even after that slavery so-called ended, they couldn't bring any more slaves over, but they were creating them right here. They had family having sex with family. There was master who was able to just rape and take whatever he wanted from the woman. That desire never ended. The clientele that's buying sex now is the same clientele that was taking and raping women then. America is founded in sex trafficking. It's not a new epidemic. It is this country, okay? So even from there, you look back, look at the brothels, look at those, you know, you see the country Western films from back in the day. You see the black and white, you see the sheriff and the mayor that's at these saloons going up, dating the woman with the big bustier. You see this, the Moulin Rouges. It's been here. It's not new, okay? So now this new awareness push that's going on, think about this. Why now? What is the purpose of this now? And where is the direction? If you go to Google image and Google image the word pimp, I guarantee you're gonna find a catalog of black men pretty much pictured from that 70s image of a pimp. Magic Don Juan, you're gonna see Snoop, you're gonna see stuff like that. And then you're gonna see other people that aren't necessarily black, but dressed like black men in costume from the 70s. There's an image that's given out. Just like if you Google image the word gangster, you're gonna get blacks and Mexicans with tattoos all over themselves, you Bloods, Crips, and Essays. There's a certain image given out. When you Google image the word human trafficking, you're gonna get 13-year-old blonde hair white girls with X's on their eyes and bruises and dark hands on their neck. You're gonna get certain imagery that's pushed to the people. But what is the reality? The reality is that human sex trafficking, if you have the root of this all is poverty. If we're gonna bring this fast forward to today, people don't wake up at 10, 11, 12 years old and say, I wanna be a pimp or a hoe when I grow up. No, these are, must stop. Out of respect there are many different forms of human sex trafficking. I'm not an expert at all of those. I'm an expert at domestic, we branded it because you have to have a label for things. So to bring context to this, urban domestic human sex trafficking is what we call it. The pimping, well, once upon a time, it was just called pimping and prostitution where I'm from, pimping and hoeing, you know, and it came primarily from black and brown communities, okay? There was no kidnapping, there was no force. There was no force there was occasionally some crazy sadistic person that did this stuff, but it was not that. It was, you have poor men and women that saw this as a feasible option for their life, so they did it. But this, so there's other forms of trafficking. There's familiar trafficking. There are places and people that are getting kidnapped, drugged up. That does exist. I'm not speaking about those. I'm not an expert at those. You know, once upon a time, if you would have called me a trafficker or asked me about human trafficking, I would have told you, yeah, that's a tanker full of foreign women that's being brought over here in a boat or a train or something and tied up. And like, no, I don't do that. I'm a pimp. That's what I would have told you because it's different. But somehow this umbrella has went over it all and the mentality is being put to the people. So rather than supplying services, options, opportunities for the youngsters in the hood, they're being incarcerated in masses. This is the new war on drugs right now. When honestly, I have a case right now. I'm a court expert. I do a human sex trafficking court expert. I testify in cases throughout this country. Right now, I have a case right here locally of a 16-year-old boy. He's 17, just turned 18 in juvenile. He's been locked up for a year in juvenile hall. You know, he has a human trafficking case and an assault case. The girl was 15. I'm reading the Instagram messages. She was 15, lied to him, told him she was 16. She was already hoeing and in the game before she even met this kid. This kid was a loser. I know him from the hood. He's a loser. 100 pounds soaking wet, never couldn't pimp if he wanted to. But because that idea, she approached him with being involved with him, he jumped on it. Now he's in jail. She's prostituting today. She was prostituting before, but in the courts, they made it like he lured her into it. No, neither one of them are innocent. Both of them are just lost kids that saw this as an option to get out of the hood, when really they should have been presented other opportunities from the beginning. Okay, that is what's going on in masses. There are people that aren't necessarily, from posting the wrong thing on social media. I have one case in Sacramento right now where the girl, there's no victim. There's a victim. They're charging him with human sex trafficking with not a victim because of a Facebook post. That's how intense this goes. But this is being pushed to the masses so that we have one mind. If someone just told you this guy was pimping, let's take this 17-year-old boy who just turned 18 in jail. So we're gonna say this 18-year-old guy was, and you don't know the case. He was human trafficking a minor, and he was a gangbanger. You don't even want to hear the situation no more. You want to lock him up. He was trafficking a minor and a gangbanger, just that easy, without knowing the real situation, without knowing she lured him and was in the game before that, and she's in it right now. They didn't offer her any services. She's not getting help right now. I know her father. You know what I mean? I know I've been watching her Snapchat with her with guns and drugs. She's lost too, but you wouldn't hear that. You hear the headline and the case that I'm reading, and it looks like he's just the biggest gangbanger in the world. No, this kid is a loser who needs help, right? So I'm just trying to put, a lot of this is what's going on. There are cases of people being forced. There are cases of people being drugged. But for this particular genre of human sex trafficking that I'm talking about, they're poor individuals that male and female that have been denied equal justice, that have been denied equal opportunity, that are going to some of the most horrible school systems. The school system's horrible, especially for Black and brown communities. They're not teaching the kids. They can't even reach the kids. This prehistoric teaching they're giving them, that kids, their minds can't even comprehend this. The teachers can't comprehend the kids' minds. They've been failed since the beginning, and it is not their fault. When I was 16 years old, I was coming out of being a wannabe gangbanger, I call it. When we got, me and my friends, out of 8 of my best friends, I'm one of 4 that's still alive. All of my friends have been murdered, all of them. You know, everybody closest to me have been murdered. Out of the 4 that's still living right now, one's gone, lost his mind. The other 2, luckily they made it out, but we all went into pimping. Every girl that I knew, all my girl family members, we all went into that at the same time. Nobody made us. It was just, what was our options? Gangbang, sell drugs, or pimp. That should never be the option. And unfortunately, nothing has been done to help them see another way still to this day. So we talk and we call this human sex trafficking, right? We call this and we just lock them up. Lock the pimp up. He's the monster, right? I guarantee you the same stuff that led that woman into the lifestyle are the same things that led that man into the lifestyle. You know, not condoning it. It is not right, but there was a set of circumstances to lead that, right? And human sex, like, once again, it's not new. That's what this country has done. You know, the crown jewel car of the pimp is the Cadillac, right? If you research Cadillac is a French man that was a criminal that was sent to the Americas. He was incarcerated for prostituting or trafficking indigenous women, Native women here. Why? The founder of Detroit, like, this is here. It's embedded into this country. It has not went anywhere. So now we're looking at the Black man as the monster. If you close your eyes, if you think of what a pimp is, you're gonna think of a Black man that looked like Don Juan or Snoop. You know, I'm not just putting that on you. If I close my eyes and someone told me a gangbanger, I'm thinking of a blood crip or an essay. It's just what's been embedded in my mind. And that's what a lot of people are thinking. We are blaming people, and we're going after people that are operating in the dark and not blaming the person that turned the damn lights out. We're never going to fix this problem unless we face the roots. I don't care how many people you lock up. We have more people incarcerated in the United States than every prison system in the world combined. There's a problem with that. There are injustices in this country that are so deeply rooted, we will never get rid of human sex trafficking, or what I'm calling urban domestic human sex trafficking, until we get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is poverty. No, but we're not monsters. Unfortunately, me and my other 3 friends were able to make it long enough to live long enough to realize our errors. You know, most of us die or get incarcerated or get these bids. I know many pimps, they're the girl they were in the game with the longest. Many.
Like Armand already said, we both of our experiences fall under a very specific category of one type of sex trafficking, one type of human trafficking. And so I don't want anybody to leave with the idea that there aren't people that do have, there are psychopaths, there are people that are predatory, there are people that have that in them. There are different categories to this. And because our experiences are so different, because we have these very specific experiences, I have friends who were very much preyed on as young children and exploited in that area. That doesn't delete or minimize their experience. That means that that is going into exactly what we're trying to talk about here, which why is lived experience so important? Because if all you hear is me and Armand talk about, or Armand and I talk about urban domestic sex trafficking, that's going to be the imagery that you have in your head to blanket statement all of human trafficking. And so when somebody else comes and shares their experience that might seem out of the box, off the wall, because that's not what you heard us talk about, you're going to question that. And that is why we have to include, you cannot do anything in the solution arena with people that is directly impacting. There is no way to have an anti-trafficking movement, anti-domestic violence movement, anti-homelessness movement. There's no way to have a movement on addiction and how to find without the people that have been directly impacted by these issues. And so I think that, I know Amelia brought a point up, how do we funding to this? Like we hear the passion in Armand's voice. Obviously there's a big problem, right? How do we redirect the funding, and how do we as individuals on these coalitions, on these boards, how do we be an impact in redirecting those fundings? We have to listen to those that have the experiences. We have to go into these places, not wait for people to come to us. We have to go into where people are experiencing these things and talk, and not have the answers, but listen for the answers, because the answers are there. Where the money, where the funding, where all of this needs to go is, the answers are there. But the problem is that we are so busy trying to create this scope of what healing, what resources, what that's supposed to look like, that we are trying to make people adapt something that is completely foreign to them. And they're failing, and we're looking and we're wondering, why is recidivism so high? Why is relapse so high? Why are people still homeless? Why is the homeless population going up in this area? It's because we're not listening to where the solutions really are. We think we have all the answers as advocates, as people that have never experienced certain walks of life. Now, that's not to say that your lived experience, because we all have lived experience, maybe not in urban domestic sex trafficking, but you all each have an individual experience. So taking that, mastering and understanding that within yourself, and then transferring that into listening to learn about other people's experiences as well. That's how we come up with solutions and rewrite these grant opportunities, because the money is needed. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say we can just do this by doing the work every day by ourselves. The money is needed, and the lived experience is a huge part of that. And so how do we collaborate? How do we understand that domestic violence, addiction, housing insecurity, sex trafficking, pimping, prostitution, all of these things are not the cancer. Those are not the cancer. These are the symptoms, and these are the results of the root issue, like Armand said. So we're looking at, how do we fix domestic violence? How do we fix human trafficking as separate entities, when really we need to focus on what he just spoke about? We need to focus on the cancer itself, the poverty. We need to focus on the systemic oppressions that really are creating these lack of opportunities for so many people. We have to understand that until we figure out how, as humanity, without depending on the government, to fix and put everybody on an equal playing field, nothing is going to be fixed. And we can't wait for somebody to come in and save anything. We are not here to save anybody in the first place, but at the same time, we're sitting here waiting for somebody else to constantly be the solution and constantly be the person that steps up, and we're waiting for just this saving grace. We are the saving grace. Every individual in here is the saving grace. You being a human and bringing back, before the housing, before the job opportunities, before the classes, before the skill training, before all of that has to come the actual empathy and the humanity back into our lives. We have to step outside of ourselves. And if 2020 hasn't taught us that we have to take care of each other, I don't know what else has to happen in this world for us to know that everybody in this room is our problem. Everybody's problems in this room do impact us in some type of way. Everybody in here is important in my life. I don't know half of you in this room, but what happens to you in your daily life impacts what happens to me and my children and the future of everything at this point. And so we have to stop focusing on how do we solve human trafficking? How do we solve DV? And we have to start focusing on how do we be better humans? How do we present opportunities that are fair to others, that are equal to others, not based off of their past, not based off of their skin color, not based off of their gender, not based off of their sexual preference, not based off of any of these things that don't matter, based off of their hearts, their ambition, their effort, and their skill sets that they are using from their lived experience. We have to give people options, opportunity, and we have to give people, most of all, grace and love, the same grace and love that we need to be able to heal in our lives. And until we can get there, there's no point in talking about resourceful solutions. It's just not going to happen.
And we're like you're saying, we're all part of the solution too. And don't let me come across wrong. As important as lived experience is, we're all a part of my football team analogy. You might say, what's the most important role on the football team? The quarterback, the coach, you may say. But my dude right here drinking water. Imagine you say the water boy is insignificant, right? Imagine if the team didn't have water. You know, the fans are important. Teams aren't even playing as well because they can't have fans. Just having people, the support system, the coach that's mapping out the plays. A lot of coaches in the NFL have never even played the game football before, but they know how to map it out. You have the owner of the team that's there solely just to provide the resources to get the game going. You know, you have cheerleaders that are there for motivation. Everybody's role is equally important. Me and Jamie might have the cleats on the field, getting dirty, taking the hits as lived experience experts. But if we did not have the other people, I didn't go to college. You know, my college was in the federal penitentiary. I didn't go to college. We need people that know how to write grants and do all this. We don't. Don't try and be everything to everybody. That may not be your role.
It's not impactful. And we are given our set of skills, our specific life experience, our certain paths for very specific reasons. And when we try to step over and try to take care of everything, that's when we fail, because we're not able to pour into what is needed 100% and mastering. We need to master us as individuals before we try to go fix anybody else, right? How do you fix somebody or help somebody if you don't even know and are not self-aware or not emotionally intelligent within yourself? And so focus on self is the first step when we're talking about solutions. And then let's talk about all this other stuff. As you can see, Armand is very passionate. I'm very passionate about this issue in our own unique ways. And I think the most important thing to take away is that what coming together and supporting financially, it's not about the money. If we were in this for the money, we wouldn't be doing this. Like,
I wouldn't be doing this.
We'd be back in the game where we were making thousands of dollars a day, right? If it was the money issue. But because part of the inability to recidivize, or recidivism, that's what we want to stop, right? We want to prevent, but we also know that
we want to prevent more people from dying. You know,
right. But what I'm saying is, like, because we know that, like, some people think that the most difficult part is extracting somebody from their situation, getting someone away from their abusive situation or toxic situation. That is the easiest part. The hardest part is to gain the ability to stay away from that and not recidivize and not go back to those old patterns and habits. So how do we prevent that regressive crisis? And so I say that to say that things like matching funding, being able to provide stipends, honorariums, when people do come and share not only their facts and their expertise, but this is their trauma. This is a lot of people's deepest, darkest trauma that they are coming to share for the purpose of healing communities and generational curses and breaking those things. So when we are able to financially provide for ourselves, when I don't have to go and worry about how I'm going to find a sitter, how I'm going to pay my rent, how I'm going to pay my electricity bill, where I'm going to live, how I'm going to eat. When I'm not in survival mode, I can then focus and give my energy and my experience to the rest of the world for that healing purpose. And so when people are willing to find funding, find grant money to pay lived experience experts in all walks of life to come and speak and share and train, they are ultimately being a part of the solution on a financial security basis, because I don't care how far along a person is out of that lifestyle of hustling. If I don't know how my rent is getting paid next month and I see my children about to be on these streets, I'm about to go get it however I know how to get it, because that doesn't leave my mind whether I'm 10 years out, 5 days out, 20 years out, 50 years out. I've known a hustle, and so my survival pattern is going to go back to that. So how do we come alongside people and appreciate and let and empower them through finances to know that your experience is valuable? I desire to learn from you because of your expertise. And here, I want to compensate you what you're comfortable with to make sure that you can go home and sleep well, knowing that you're not re-traumatized once you leave this training and just poured yourself out to me, and now you got to figure out how to pay your rent. And so I hope that makes sense to everybody. And that is why this funding is appreciated. The matching is appreciated. Grant funding is necessary to be able to try to start shifting this paradigm of this issue.
Beyond powerful. You're getting some love in the chat box, and Armand and Jamie, your strength and your courage to be present with us and share your hearts and your wisdom, your expertise is exceptional. And you know, we're, as a guide team, we are humbled and very grateful that Amelia brought forth this opportunity to help. And I know and help me with anyone who might know more, the Senate Bill 803, I believe it was, the governor signed last year for family support partners, peer navigators, peer support. So that's now California law, and maybe Amelia can speak to it probably more eloquently than I, with any ins and outs. So I just would encourage anyone on here, and we all have a sphere of influence out there with lives that we touch, that Armand and Jamie, that we also are out advocating on your behalf for your inclusion as subject matter experts with lived experience. And because it's vast, and you're absolutely right about poverty, and Joshua had put in Maslow hierarchy of needs. Absolutely. I think everyone here is very passionate about the root causes of the social determinants of health. So you're in great company in that, this is a tribe, and we're all exceptionally passionate. I know everyone on here, exceptionally passionate individuals, that we want healing-centered, equity-focused, sustainable systems change. And I think what all of us have gone through in 2020, and absolutely what happened in our nation this week, I think we're going to be fierce warriors, healing warriors in 2021, and really do everything we can to nurture. Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris wants to end the impact of adverse childhood experiences in one generation. One generation, she wants to reduce it by 50%. That's lofty and robust. And the Office of Surgeon General, needs us, all of us, to be out doing that work with intention all day long, every day.